All right, guys. All right, Pelly's here. Pelly's here. We can get started. Let's do it. Ziz. 0 people up in here. Sometimes there's a lag. Let's see. Let's see if it updates. Oh wait. Let me comment only on YouTube. It does stream to the Collect Art House Facebook page. I bet you guys didn't know I had a Facebook page, did you? There is a Collect Art House Facebook page. It's like a business page, I guess, so to speak. That's what pages are for, as it turns out. But, I'm not very active on the page itself. It's more the community group, the other groups, now the Legend CCG group. It's a variety group. It's a variety of groups. Omega Zool, what's up? We got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 snail dragon looking things. Is that a dragon or a snail? I'm a little confused by that symbol. All right, guys, we got a lot to do. Let me see. We're gonna have to get the overhead cam going. So I might as well get that lined up. Then we'll explain what we got going on here. All right, so we got the ZV1, popping that up, and what's missing here? What is missing? KevMo? KevMo, stop screwing around. Get out of there. KevMo. Sparkle syrup. KevMo actually gave me this sparkle syrup. And where is KevMo, you ask? That's a good question. KevMo messaged me, and he said something about like he's driving his dad around or something like that. He's driving his dad from somewhere to somewhere else. I really did not read it all and pay attention to process it, to be honest. So KevMo is on his way to his homeland, wherever that is, leaving from wherever that is, and he's probably going to be here in about a half hour, let's say, roughly about a half hour-ish. Oh, Peter just finished watching Ed Bear Jr.'s live stream. Yeah, man. I was on there too. So in the Ed Bear Jr. Patreon, he was painting these little guys. So when you order, everyone's asking, where do you get the Dragonlord, right? You can't get the box. No Dragonlords anywhere. We're going to open KevMo's box tonight. That's one of the festivities and activities that's going to happen tonight. So I'm going to set that aside. When you buy a box from Ed Bear Jr., it's more than a box. You get one of his art of Ed Bear Jr. Series 1. I believe he only did one series. So he did I think it was either 200 or 250 proofs of these fantasy art cards that he was going to do, right? So he had, like, let's call it 200 to 250 of these artist proofs done. It's kind of like a proof of concept. And I think he had said something like he broke them up and started selling them. So he had like a bunch left over, but it wasn't like full sets of them really, or enough to really offer his full sets. And this was several years back, right? So he has these blank backs like artist proofs, and he is sketching at various levels of detail or painting the back of these. And he's offering that at different tiers with his Dragonlord mini set box. And we got a real hot auction going on, so there's a lot of live action going. Let me just check. All right, we're good. All right. Getting distracted. So this is the one that Ed Bear Jr. sent me. You guys can get this sketched, or you can get a painted version with your Dragonlord box if you're still looking to get that. So while need to rub the bottle and KevMo will appear. I don't know, man. That sounds weird. He could be the genie from the syrup bottle, though. All right, so we got that. We got the Curiosa collection, which I am now missing one because there's the Swedish promo Curiosa, and the guy does not seem to want to sell it to me. He hasn't reached out to me. I have not reached out to him. I think the store owner or somebody out there in Sweden had reached out to me. I can't remember what the Discord name was of that. So I'm just blowing in the wind here. Short one Curiosa. But what I wanted to talk about, guys, is I got those out because I wanted to see all of the different historical variants. We have the Beta Curio. We have the Alpha non-foil. We have the Alpha Curio. We have the Eric's Curiosa artist proof. So it's signed by Francesca Berald. That's the Francesca Berald Eric's Curiosa Alpha Artist Proof number 12 of 25, the Candle of Consumption. You have a blank back artist proof signed by Eric. That is an Alpha blank back artist proof. Eric signed right there. You have the Avatar of Fire Precon sample. So this one is a sample card of the Eric's Curiosa. This one was from Rafa. He printed it, that he was playtesting with. He's one of the developers of the game, one of the first. Another one from him, signed. You see the color saturation because it is kind of home printed. Interesting piece of history there for the historical collection. We have the Avatar of Fire playtest from Red Zone Rogue. And the Avatar of Water playtest from Red Zone Rogue. So these were printed by Eric in New Zealand, given to Red Zone Rogue to showcase the game, and acquired by the Collector Art House for the History of Sorcery collection. So there you have all the various variants through the beginning of time of Eric's Curiosa, the namesake of the company that creates Sorcery Contested Realm, which I've shown on the channel before, but there's a bunch of people joining, so I wanted to do that. People that joined recently might think I just run auctions, or what have I done recently? Open boxes on the channel randomly, Dragonlord, right? I was doing alpha box breaks for a while. Did a ton of sample pack breaks. We did, how many did we get up to? Like 30 packs or something like that? Insane. Like a significant percentage of all the ones that exist have been open on the channel here. But before I did all that, I was just chasing the art, collecting paintings and original paintings, curating that on the collectorarthouse.com website, and collecting a lot of the historical items of the game. Unique one-of-ones, obviously the paintings, sketches. We're going to see some sketches tonight. We're going to see some original paintings tonight. The history of the game in all different variants. Sample cards, playtest cards. I'm going to show you a bunch of those because we're going to talk about the avatars tonight while we're waiting on KevMo. And then we're going to open up a Dragonlord box. So let's see. Matthew, thank you for joining. Peter, Mike Pass, what's up, dude? Omega Zool. Mike Pelly was first in the house. So Matthew says, that looks sick. Imagine trying to collect them all. Dude, it was a long journey, man. It took me years to get all of those Eric's Curiosa variants. If that play test one was truly play tested with, why is it still intact? Well, nowadays when you play test, there's probably play tested in sleeves, potentially. I'm not sure. For those of you who have joined recently, I go to Art House for all my rules questions. Yeah, if you guys need clarification on the rules, just hit me up. DM me anytime. I'm here to help. All right, guys. So let me see. Where do I want to start this journey? Should I start with alpha and go backwards, or start with oldest to newest? If I start with alpha and work backwards, that would be kind of interesting. All right. So starting with alpha, you had the alpha precon kit cards, right? So from the Kickstarter, you had these pre-constructed decks. It had the alpha logo on front, and it had a security seal sticker. And you see this one actually still has the security seal, but it does not have the wrap on it. And why is that? Because it's signed by Eric Olofsson, the game creator. So we have a precon alpha kit signed by Eric. And I actually have a few of those. 4 of these were included for the top 4 backers of the Kickstarter. And I was one of those top 4 backers. So I have 4 of those, each signed by Eric in his awesome gold. It looks like a gold paint pen. Pretty sick, right? Pretty nice. Still sealed. Signed by the creator. So that's pretty epic. And then let me think what comes next. I guess before that, we would have had the alpha. All right, so those were the alpha precon decks. Preceding that those were the alpha pre-constructed decks. What we had before that was the alpha sample card. Pre-constructed decks, first edition. No bearish case included. You get that afterwards to protect the historic collection. So in here is 4 sets of sample card, first edition precon decks. All 4 decks, right? And at this point, aside from like Eric or any company insiders, whatever they may have, I think I might be the only person in the world that has a complete set of first edition sample pre-con decks because all the other like content creators and stuff, this was not gifted to me. I had to pay a lot of money in cash and or trade for a lot of these items to acquire the history collection. So I acquired this through unconventional means, actually. Pretty interesting story. It was from one of the people that was given this in the early days to showcase the game. All right. And again, this took me, hang on a second, guys. All right. People are DMing me. What was I talking about? So nobody has this, right? It was given to content creators early on. Early on, I was just a guy that was like a super fan of sorcery, right? I didn't even have a YouTube channel at all. I had a website where I collected all the full art, collectarthouse.com. I interviewed a ton of the artists. So by the time the game released, it was a nice, robust site. It had a lot of the full arts on the website. And then Eric included it in the Kickstarter, which was awesome. So it was part of the Kickstarter campaign. It linked to my website. And but I didn't have like YouTube and stuff, right? So I wasn't like one of the influencer level content creators that was getting stuff from the company to showcase at that time. So I didn't get a pre-con kit like some of the other people did. Like Louis from Kitchen Table TCG got one, and Kodak, and I think the guys from Arsenal Pass got one. I'm pretty sure Rudy got one because I think he showed it in the background of one of his videos, and we kind of assumed that to be the case. I believe Team Covenant may have gotten one, but they also opened it on the channel with Simon and gave away a lot of those sample cards. So a lot of those have been disseminated out into the wild, and they gave some to their employees. They also got a booster box that they did something like that with as well, as I recall. So, not a lot out there, and those handful of creators and influencers broke up the set and sold off a lot of those, right? So this is a pretty unique collectible, having the full set of all 4 sample decks, which is a lot of sample cards, and all the sample cards are worth a lot, from starting with the ordinaries, typically anywhere from like 100 to a few hundred based on the novelty of it. Is it, if there's been a lot of change, or if it's like a heavily played, meta relevant, as they say, card from Alpha, then they tend to be popular. Some cards that were not printed, like the Counterspell, there was an ordinary Counterspell that has not yet been used in the game. A lot of interesting history here. So there's a lot of sample cards in here, complete decks, pretty amazing. All right, so that's that. If we go one step further back in time, we had these decks that were given to Red Zone Rogue. So you guys may have seen out on Facebook and in the Marketplace Discord, I think it was, this guy I think he's from Sweden, I want to say. There was a guy that Eric met at a Magic event, and he had like these decks in the very early days. This must have been like 2022 era, I believe. Maybe even 2021 or 2020, around that time frame. He had some of these. He made these boxes himself, and he had these like playtest cards, essentially prototype type cards, I would say. And he was playtesting with these, and he met up with some guys at one of these Magic events, and he gave them like a set of these, right? So he has a bunch of these cards. I know another one of his buddies in Sweden has a set of these. They're the only 2 people I know of, aside from myself, who has this. And where are these from? This is the set that was given to Red Zone Rogue. So it's the first ever that we knew was ever existed. Red Zone Rogue, Kellen, showcased those on his YouTube channel. So it has strong provenance. I actually have a COA that validates that this is where these are from. He dealt these to somebody else, and I acquired them through a sell and trade kind of structure. It's pretty interesting how I got those. So full decks of each of those. The cards within were playtest cards given to Red Zone Rogue to test the game and give Eric feedback on the gameplay in the very early days. So he's one of the first to play test it. You see, like, we have the avatar of wind before it became the avatar of air. So a lot of interesting cards in here, all printed by Eric in New Zealand for playtest purpose. You see they're kind of the cuts, the corners are a little more rounded, I believe. Of course, the centering is kind of like all over the place because these were just cut by him, printed locally. So these cards are interesting, and some, the text is larger, like you saw in a lot of the early playtest verbiage, like very long, Those are some of the things that were kind of cleaned up and simplified. The flavor text changed a lot, the type line text, the card titles in many ways. By the way, is my microphone on? Are you guys hearing me talk? It's awfully quiet there in the chat. Shout if you hear me. So there's cards that, were quick magic that you played on your opponent's turn. They were 0 casting cost. So a lot of change. The lightning bolt used to be a quick magic playing on your opponent's turn. So a lot of interesting history. The beasts, often the power levels changed by the time it got to alpha. Some of these were hand marked by Eric with notes on the cards. Really interesting. You see some bangers in there. I think some of the towers. Okay, so that one says Lone Tower. There were some that were called only Tower. Black Tower. See, this one's called Black Tower. It's actually, I believe, that was this one, the Gothic Tower? Or am I getting that mixed up? Here's the Lone Tower, simply called Tower in the early days before Alpha. You see how off-center the text is? Just kind of different aligned. And then it says Genesis gain 1 mana until end of turn. So that was a mark, like a handwriting that Eric wrote on there to kind of adjust the direction of the game mechanic before it went to alpha. So really interesting piece of history there. It's kind of like a 1 of 1 in a way. I don't know. I guess I'd have to go look at the pictures that the other guy from Sweden posted to see if those were marked up as well with Eric's markings. Or if this was like something that Eric was playing with before he sent it to Red Zone Rogue. We have the full deck of 4. I just put them in these bearish cases, to protect them a little better than those makeshift boxes that Eric had made. And lastly, if we take one step further back in time, we have additional playtest from Sorcery's first designer, aside from co-designer. No one confirmed the microphone's good. Are we good? Before that, we had playtest from one of the first ever hired designer, aside from co-creator Nick Reynolds, gameplay designer. So this is from Rafa. You see the Philosopher's Stone, the Sorcerer. All right, we're good. Good. A bunch of the avatars, the towers, so he signed a bunch of these. And the Book of Kells, which is not out yet. We hope to see in Gothic. Really epic card. This one I just showcased on the channel recently. You see the True Alliance by Jeff Menges. So interesting story. I interviewed Jeff Menges, and Eric allowed us to reveal this card. This was back in like 2022, 2023 timeframe. Probably 2022, before the alpha set released. So it was early days. This card had not been revealed yet. And it was like, it was before it was even put in Tabletop Simulator for playtesting as well. So really interesting. When are we getting Forgotten Tower? So I'll come back to that, guys. What I wanted to show here, so you have a bunch of cards, early days. I put some of the interesting, more higher end ones in here that Rafa had signed, but you also have the elemental avatars. So I have a set of all 4 of those. And the interesting thing is they are full art on the back, on the print copies of these. So I think the reason for that is because in alpha, they had it only in foil variants with full art back, right? But the front of these are just the regular. I'll slide one out here. The Avatar of Fire, for example. And I think, if I remember correctly, it was printed inverted. So it was actually kind of a mistake. But the Avatar of Fire from the early days, you see how rounded these are too. Super rounded. So those were early playtest. And yeah, those ones are not signed. But that is the provenance of those. So there we have it. I kind of did that out of order because what would have come first were the Red Zone Rogue playtest cards. And you guys wanted to see the so that's almost the entire history. So that's the history of all the cards from all the variants. Really, the order went from Red Zone Rogue playtest to, it would have been, let me think about this now. I think it would have been probably the Rafa playtest, because these were ones that he was printing from Tabletop Simulator and playtesting. And then we would have had the alpha pre-constructed sample card decks and then not counting sample packs. The sample packs, to our knowledge, there's never been an elemental avatar pulled from those. So we believe that the elemental avatars in sample card form only exist in the precon decks. So they are probably, I almost want to say, the most rare sample cards that exist, period. But some of these unique sample cards. Hey, John, good to see you, man. Hope you're doing well. I want to say like some of the uniques, we've only found like one or two, right? So those might be more rare even than the elemental avatars. But yeah, I think what you guys wanted to see were the towers. So these were they were in Tabletop Simulator before release at some point. And this set was signed by Rafa, one of the developers. And you have the Apex of Babel and the Base of Babel. And actually, what happened here with these cards, again, these were playtest cards, right? This painting is a single painting. So this painting, how did this painting come into existence? Someone had bought this painting from Dan Seagrave, right? I knew the person that acquired this painting, and then I sold it for that person via consignment. Shockingly, I actually advertised it for direct sale. I didn't take it to auction. This was like very early on. You guys know I run a lot of auctions, but occasionally I will also offer certain items for direct sale. Sometimes I'll do it within my Patreon and give Patreon supporters first right of refusal or opportunity to buy, let's say. And then if they pass, I open it publicly. So I believe in this case, I offered it through Patreon. There wasn't really any interest, actually. So shockingly. Early days of paintings, right? Before they became a lot more valuable, before the game really popped off and became huge. So I offered it publicly, and it was just sat out there for a little bit. And it was like a really reasonable price too. I'm talking like a couple thousand, right? If I auctioned it now, it'd probably be I don't know, 4,000 or 5,000 plus painting, maybe more. I mean, it's Dan Seagrave. It looks incredible. I would say there's a decent chance it could emerge in Gothic, potentially. I mean, given the size and the layout, it's more of like so what I'm getting at is that painting I sold on behalf of this person. I sold it to Red Zone Rogue. And it was an interesting transaction because I worked into that deal a cash plus card trade. So I think I acquired an Alpha Curio or two from Red Zone Rogue that he was looking to deal, and we kind of worked it into the deal. So basically, I ended up paying cash to the seller of this painting, and then it was like a three-way transaction, more or less, right? Where I acquired a couple Alpha Curios, Red Zone Rogue got this painting, and now recently in the past year or so, he actually resold this painting. So now somebody else, who I don't know if he said this publicly, so I won't say who it is, but they messaged me and they're like, Mike, I got the Tower of Babel. It's like, dude, that's sick. I actually regret not buying it myself because it's pretty freaking awesome. So unlike a lot of the Atlas Sight cards, this is not painted in a landscape orientation, right? So that's why it's a two-piece card. So it looks like a sight, right? So I imagine like when Eric was deciding what to do with this painting, it was a little awkward to make it a spell card, right? It looks like a sight. So they made it a 2 double aspect sight, a paired game mechanic, right? So it works in horizontal landscape independently, where it looks a little strange independently, right? But the effect is it's a unique and impossibly lofty sight, the Apex of Babel. And here you have, so Rafa, when he was playtesting these, he was marking up the cards and making tweaks instead of giving like 2 mana. I don't know. He used a Sharpie here and he overwrote it as 3 mana. So it says the Apex gives 3 mana instead of 1 if the Base of Babel is directly behind it. And the Base of Babel says this base gives 2 mana instead of 1 if the Apex of Babel is in front of it. So if you position these on the grid adjacent to each other, it gives an extra mana boost. So really cool. It requires 2 cards. So I think it was a little problematic in playtesting. That's why it didn't make it in. But of course, we have the amazing, iconic Philosopher's Stone signed by the developer. And like later on, they decided, I think, that the creative team would not sign, right? So anything I have signed by Eric or Rafa, this would have been like really early on before they really ironed out and nailed down the policies. So these are pretty special and unique, right? I don't think Rafa signs at all anymore, to my knowledge. So pretty amazing. What's up, Cosmic? All right, you guys are enjoying the backstory? All right, so we got those. And now it's art time, guys. Now it's art time. All right, so this is going to be pretty awesome. See when KevMo shows up. Could be soon. The Collector Art House playmats. Why I'm showcasing the elemental avatars is because we have a playmat variant coming with the 4 elemental avatars. So I'm going to show you that, guys, in just a moment. First, there's an embellished print, right? So let me see if there's a way. I'm going to have to like overlay it and I'll have to zoom, right? So this is a limited series embellished print series. I have to do it like this because when I zoom, it comes off the screen. You see, 15 of 15 is what I'm showcasing. This is a limited series of just 15 prints. Just arrived from Severin Wednesday, I think it was. So Wednesday, she sent me these. It's interesting. I'm going to offer these to the Collector Art House Patreon supporters. They have the paid tier supporters have, when I do these embellished print collaborations with the artist, I offer it to people that have been supporting me in Patreon for a while, right? It's one of the value propositions of the Patreon with my relationships with artists. It really helps the artist tremendously, right? They make most of the money off of this. Actually, selling prints is a real pain in the ass because it's a lot of shipping logistics. It's low margin, but it works out very well for the artist who makes the majority of the money, and it creates a great value proposition for people to support me on Collector Art House Patreon. So what is an embellished print? It is a print that has hand-painted embellishments. So I don't know if you guys are picking it up. You know, I have some harsh lighting right now, but there's these beautiful, delicate embellishments. See, when I do that, you kind of see it. Look, focus on the face of the Avatar of Air, right? And you see these shimmery accents and embellishments around the butterfly, around the Avatar of Air, around the pearls. See if I get the pearls on the Avatar of Water. So 15 of these, and they're all, and this is pretty interesting because you got silver accents to tastefully accent the Avatar of Air and the Avatar of Water. She's got a little dot in both eyes for a glimmer in the eyes. And then when you get over to the Avatar of Fire and Earth, she has this gold shimmer tone. So this kind of reacts and shines a little differently. So it's a very beautiful print. She called it the 4 Avatars by Severin. She has her signature stamp here in the lower right, 2025, dated and numbered, right? And then let me see. So she signs like on her stamp, you see, where it says Pinot 2025. That is where she signed with her name. Sorry, it doesn't fit with my overhead. So it's signed here, and then she has her logo stamp. It's like an embossed stamp on the print. So a lot of people frame it with the white border, so you can see how she named it. The 4 avatars, you have her logo in the middle. And it's a really nice size, a really beautiful landscape size. You see it's actually almost the exact size as a single player playmat in terms of width, but it's actually taller, right? So I think it's probably about I got a tape measure right here. I think it's like a 16 by 20, roughly. Actually a little larger because she does it in centimeters for European dimensions. It's about 23 and a half by, let's see, almost 17 inches. Let's call it 16 and a half. 16 and a half by 23 and a half. So, you know, it's like a bit larger than a 16 by 20. Now, KevMo's coming on in a little bit. So that is, I have 15 of these. However, somehow she misplaced the 1 of 15. So she sent me 2 through 15. So I emailed her and she's like, oh, yeah, you know, I work late at night sometimes. I made a mistake. So I'm trying to clarify if she wants to sell the 1 of 15 and if she's going to sell that direct. I have a guy in Patreon that's one of the top tier supporters who always buys the number 1. So I'm going to try to figure out. So typically the embellished prints have been anywhere from about $500. I think we had one maybe just at $500, $750, and as much as like $1,000+ when we did the Philosopher's Stone concepts and stuff. This one, we agreed to price this very fair and aggressively, in my opinion, very generously from Severin. These will only be $475 shipped, including shipping, right? So $475. We try to get it under $500. There's 14 of them as it stands now, but there's a series of 15. We'll see what she does of the 1 of 15, but there'll be 2 through 15. At a minimum, I'll offer those 14 through Patreon supporters, and I'll post the details this weekend. You guys can decide if you're interested, if you want to claim, and then I will go by the level of tier you're at. I want to offer highest priority to highest tiers. That's how the tiers are structured. One of the benefits of the higher tiers, and then also if they're for tiebreakers, I do longest tenured. So there's some guys that have been supporting me for 2-3 years at this point since I initially started Patreon, and I was just a fan, like a small nobody, just getting a start, and they thought it would lead to something, and it would grow in time. The other thing I wanted to show real quick while we're here is this concept. We did this Avatar Eclipse. This was another print we did, and this was like a concept piece that she was working out. She ended up sending me the concept piece. What we ended up doing is, I think it was all in color ultimately, and then it was just like a deep toned dark eclipse for the stone, and then we had these like embellished gold accents coming out. So I have that in the in my pad folio, like the artist proof version of that. But I thought this was really cool. This beautiful, looks like colored pencil kind of like workup that she was using to really hone in on the colors, the color detail that she wanted for that. So just something from the archive here. Let me see. Speaking of Padfolio, back to the history tour. Now, this is going to be very difficult because I don't know if I'm going to be able to flip open the Padfolio without smacking my microphone. So I think what I'm going to have to do is do this to the side. All right. All right, guys. So I showed all the variants. What we have here, you're only going to see a piece of it because I can't get it fully under the camera. But the first one, the original sketch of the elemental avatar of Earth. This is the original sketch, the concept that she showed to Eric Olofsson that ended up becoming the final artwork that was used for the iconic elemental avatars in Alpha, right? So this was the original sketch. This is what ultimately became the sketch curios in beta, right? So it was an idea I floated in the Discords early on, pre-alpha. I was like, Eric, man, if you go to sketch cards, you got to do the elemental avatars. So he decided not to do that in alpha, but they did do it in beta. So I don't know if they already had the idea and I just kind of predicted it in a way, or if they liked that idea and ended up doing it. Either way, I love that story and history. I got the receipts on that too. People think I make stuff up. The next one, the avatar, I gotta lean my head, guys. I can't fit the microphone over the Padfolio. These are very large, like again, like 16 by 20 or so. The avatar of water, the avatar of KevMo.
Hey,
man, I'm almost done with my history tour here.
Okay.
KevMo's in the house, so I'm showing these are the original sketches. I don't know if were you listening at all while you're driving, or did you miss the whole preamble?
I'm just hopping in right now.
All right. So I showed all the elemental avatar variants, starting from the alpha precons. I have an alpha precon deck signed by Eric on the outside of the box that came with the top pledge.
Nice.
4 of those. And then I showed like all the different variants. I ended up getting, I don't know if you knew, I ended up getting a set of the first edition sample card decks.
Oh, look at that.
It says first edition there.
You got all the good stuff,
these
man.
are sample precons.
That's cool.
So it's each of the 4 decks.
How many of those exist? Do you know?
I think we tracked down like maybe 5 or 6 different content creators got it early on. Most of them broke it out and sold it off. Really and then cool. I got the Red Zone Rogue ones that he showcased, the playtest ones.
That's cool.
All right, so there's Avatar of Fire. And then, was that the last one? Yeah, I showed all 4. All right, let me get this out of here. All right.
I see some bugs. You got some bugs on your table right there, man.
Some bugs there. We'll talk about those.
Speaking of playtests and samples, man, I'm gonna put you on blast here. I still got to convince you one of these days to trade me something for that test pudge. It's the last one I need for my pudge collection.
Is that right? The spellcraft pudge?
Spellcraft pudge, yeah.
Or oh man, that's a growl.
I
I
know, I
usually don't
know,
give up
I know.
spellcraft.
I have one spellcraft card myself. It's the
Oh, did you end up getting one?
boss troll. Yeah,
Oh, sick. Nice. What was the other thing? Oh,
nice
okay.
playmat by the
So
way.
what's that?
Nice playmat by the way. Look at that. I
Oh,
brought
thanks,
I,
dude.
I brought mine to a Cornerstone event recently and got a lot of comments.
Oh, really? Nice.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I've been hearing they'd been making it out into the wild. Some of the guys, like in Patreon and stuff, were saying that they were at these, Cornerstone events predominantly, I think is where they're showing up. Maybe a few at Gen Con. But that was a madhouse. At Gen Con, were you working the booth at Shardbugs the whole time, or were you like around the sorcery scene as well?
No, so unfortunately this year we weren't able to land. We're basically doing the sorcery thing with shard bugs, where the first year at Gen Con we weren't able to lock in a booth, so we just had the play area, similar to how sorcery when they
Oh.
did the first Gen Con, they just had the play area. So Thursday, uh, I held the first 2K event for Gen Con for shard bugs. And so it was just Thursday. It was just a one-time event. We had a 2K, so the top four split $2,000, and then they played for all these extra prizes and promos and the title and all that. So it
Hmm.
was really really fun. And then after that, for the rest of the weekend, Friday through Sunday was all sorcery, and I was over there helping them at the sorcery booth for the rest of that
Oh.
time.
Oh,
Uh,
really?
next
Damn.
year, next year we plan on doing a full vendor booth and all that, as well as play space for shard bugs. So we'll be there bigger and stronger next
Yeah.
year.
Oh, you
So
think you have a table? That'd be sweet.
oh yeah.
Yeah,
No,
it
but
seems like it's doing well.
yeah, yeah, so far so good.
Is that a Swedish fish on your head? It's making me hungry, man.
It's some sort of fish.
Need some candy.
Always
Did you
got a
move, by
rocks.
the way? You're usually like inside with the cat apparatus behind you. A little
I did.
disorienting. You're like out in
I,
the wilderness now.
I did. That's part of the reasons why I was on such a long hiatus from the podcast, is because
Oh
I
shit.
not only got laid off from the full time that I had as an IT in the park, but I was forced to
Oh.
move because all that's tied into employment. So now I
Hmm.
live elsewhere, still out in the middle of nowhere. As you can see,
It looks
I have
cool.
trees and stuff behind me. So
Yeah.
yeah, just out in the middle of nowhere, loving life.
Yeah. Are you pretty much doing the bugs thing full time now then, or oh, did we lose you? Your camera froze. We might have lost him, guys. Try to leave and come back in,
There we
KevMo. Oh, you good? Hang
go.
on.
Little
Oh,
little
there we go.
hiccup. Little
Yeah.
hiccup.
Are you doing bugs full time, or what are you doing?
Not quite full time. Well, full time as far as my efforts go.
Yeah.
Um, but as far as like the time, I'm still kind of gradually getting to that point with the company. But yeah, all my efforts at least are fully focused on shard bugs, and then I'm trying to bring the podcast back. I actually finished recording most of the newest episode this week, and so I have a few more things to touch up, and then I should be able to hopefully put that episode live next week, and
Okay.
that'll be my return. And then I have a lot of artists lined up as well that want to hop on. So I'm bringing the podcast back. So my main focuses are going to be shard bugs and the podcast at this
Are,
point. I owe a lot of people a lot of episodes, so I'm going to try my best to come back strong with that.
is the so the podcast, is that going to be only sorcery, or are you going to do that and
Only
bugs?
only sorcery. You're not the first to ask.
Okay.
People are asking about that. I think one of the things with sorcery is because I don't work for the company or have any affiliation with the company, I can be open and honest and have these, opinionated ideas. I can have, these critical, um, I can speak my mind. I can speak freely and not feel like I'm gonna, I still try to stay positive and try to have a, constructive criticism, but I can at least have that criticism. Whereas if I
Hmm.
kind of did something for shard bugs, it's as much as fun as that would be, I think that I wouldn't be able to have the creative freedom to be able
Yeah.
to speak my mind on that, and it would be more of just like, you know, pushing on the company's side, which would still be fun to do something like that. But at
Hmm.
this point, it's not really something that we've discussed, and they're kind of allowing me to have that creative freedom still with the sorcery podcast, and they know how much that means to me and how big a part of that, a part of my life that is with the community. So at this
Yeah.
point, no podcast for the shard bugs, but I've had a lot
Okay.
of people ask about that. So,
No, that makes sense. Yeah, it's
but
like your
hey,
personal
we
side
don't
hobby.
have any fully dedicated shard bugs podcasts yet. So if anybody
Mm.
wants to be the first,
Is that right?
there
Okay.
you
Are
go.
there any YouTube channels emerging or not just yet?
We do have a handful of YouTube
I know
content
Steve at
creators.
Philo Cards opens it.
We
Good
we
amount.
we do have Philosopher Cards. He's
Yeah.
definitely one of the bigger content creators. We also have Lorcanitos. Shout out to them. They're great content creators too. They cover a lot of different games. They've really favored doing a lot of content for Shardbugs recently. We also have a newcomer recently. He goes by Bright Entomology. He's been creating channels, or he has a channel that he's been creating little shorts recently that take each of the bug, like one of the bug cards that we have. He does maybe 2 to 3 a week, and he'll take a card that we have and figure out what that bug uh, actually is in nature that the card is based on. Because every bug that we design cards around is based on real species of bugs out in the wild that we learn about. We take those bugs and we design them into an actual card, whether it's statistics, mechanics,
Oh,
uh,
okay.
all that stuff. And so he's been kind of like reverse engineering a little bit. We don't
Oh,
always
okay.
tell him what bug it's based on, and he's been taking upon himself because he's an entomologist, and so
Yeah, that's wild.
so uh, so he takes the cards and he tells you about the bugs that they're based on and teaches you about that. So he's been doing good things, and we have a handful of other content creators as well. Um, Two Lanes is another one that I know that has been doing stuff. So they're popping up. We've been getting gameplay videos. We've been getting content creators talking about our stuff, um, and we're growing, man. It's been doing
Yeah.
doing
Yeah, I
big
heard it's
things.
been going good. There's a
Yeah.
lot of interest. Nice. That's fun.
You've been involved with a handful of things with giveaways and all that stuff as
Yeah.
well. So I think you even have your own little emoji in there next to a pack of cards that we use in the server.
Oh, is that right?
There you go.
One of the slanderous ones that someone created? Yeah, I've probably seen that. Keel Wilson. That guy's a devil. All right. There's 2 more things I gotta showcase, and then we're here to open your Dragonlord box.
Sure, of
So let me pull
course.
this back
You saved
up.
the best for last, right?
Yeah, I was doing some show and tell and history lessons on sorcery.
Nice,
So
nice.
one, I don't know if you saw this. This just went up for auction this weekend. It's the first Sam McKinnon offer. So he had,
Oh,
Sam is like, I'm. Oh, sorry, I forgot it had these opaque sleeves on it.
I love
But he
Sam.
was,
He's a nice guy.
yeah, he's awesome. When we did, let me slide these out of here
Supposed
carefully.
to have him on the podcast here. He did take up my offer, and so he's one
Yeah,
of the artists I'll be trying to get on here soon.
nice. Yeah, so when they did the reveal season for Arthurian Legends, he was the artist that I collaborated with. So I had the pleasure of announcing him for sorcery, and then I kind of split. I did a abbreviated segment for the card reveal with him, and then I did an interview with him. So he did these. I hadn't worked with him yet on artist proofs, so I got to like do it the other way. So these are the first 2 artist proofs, the first artist proofs each that he's done of Yellow Knight and Vanishment. So it's a 2-piece concept. I thought it was kind of cool because you would think it would go like this, right? To kind of almost replicate the step
Hmm.
area that Truitt did with the 2, the Jihad and the Crusade marching in. But he did them opposing like this. But then when you flip it and you look at the painted side, it comes together in harmony with this, with the
Oh,
Yellow Knight
that's
leaping from
sick.
the rock and kind of evading the fire flames of the
Oh, that's
dragon
cool.
while
That's
also stabbing
gorgeous.
its belly with the spear.
That's
Yeah.
so yeah, Sam is such a talented. Him and Truitt just being the youngest artists on the team is just like the talent that they have. It's like where the heck are they going to be when they're, older like some of these
Yeah.
other seasoned artists? Like they just that's beautiful, man. That's
Yep.
gorgeous. I do have one AP that I got from Sam, and it's his the Huntress.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, because
That was
that
the card we revealed. Yeah, the Sherwood
yeah.
Huntress. Beautiful. That's probably,
Hmm.
I don't know, between that and Pond, those were always my favorite 2 paintings of his.
Well, she just everything about that artwork appealed to me because she's this like Robin Hood sort of feeling huntress out in the middle of the woods,
Yeah.
hunting, Hunger Games style sort of thing. So like everything about that kind of, obviously drew me in because, she's in the middle of the woods surviving and stuff. So I had to get one of those. And I don't, if I had my binder out here, but I'm like outside, I'd show you, but I'll have to post it in your channel at some point later. The
Yeah.
AP that I got
Yeah,
from
do
him.
that. Got me curious. All right, the last thing I wanted to show before Dragonlord box is the original painting that's coming up this week. So I got an original. This is the last from Elvira Polakowska. She sold all of hers except the Frisky Red Squirrel is one she's
Okay.
keeping for now. So I don't have that one. People love that. I'd probably buy that
Yeah,
myself. But this
that's
is the
that's a
last
cute one.
one
Yeah.
she's going to offer. So I'm auctioning this one this week. This
Oh,
is
cool. Yeah.
the servant, the castle servants.
Yeah.
So like when you look at this, and it's so big I can't even fit it on the screen. I'm max zoomed out right now, but she paints like pretty large, always watercolor. So it's a really beautiful piece. I'll get
Oh, that's all.
she
That's
sent it
all
rolled,
watercolor.
It's watercolor, yeah.
Holy cow!
She always does watercolor.
That's
So it's
amazing.
yeah, very colorful. Like when you see it on the card, it often looks a lot more dull, but when you see the original painting, it's large and it looks amazing and very displayable. I
That
was really
almost
impressed.
looks. That almost looks like it's acrylic from here.
It's like
Just
on this,
like some
so it's on
deep.
art paper. You could kind
Yeah.
of, you can't really see it. The lighting's terrible. But it's kind of like ribbed. It absorbs the paints well. So she
Yeah.
always does. I think she's always done watercolor on all her pieces, to my knowledge, at least in Alpha, and I think a bunch in Arthurian. I've seen a few. What was the other one I sold of hers? A few weeks back, there was one, and then Dispel. But I'll get a better picture and show people. But I wanted to show that really quick. The
You
large
have
piece is awesome.
you have Dan blowing up your comments over here talking about how we need some comment about Kevin about the beta market, and Kevin's on. We better crash the market again. And what's funny enough, when I was at Gen Con, I was bumping elbows with the Ex Curiosa team, and I got a chance to hang out with Simon again. And
Yeah.
when I first saw him, all he said, he got this big smile on his face and looked at me and was like, "Uh oh, this man again. He's coming over to get me in trouble again. I can't talk to you. I've been grounded." And I'm
Yeah.
like, "For real, man? I'm sorry. I don't know." And he's like, "No, I'm just playing, man." He's
Oh,
like,
he made
"It's
a joke about it. Yeah,
yeah."
he's fully aware
But
that we always bust your chops about it.
I asked him too. I'm like, "So, is there any chance I'd ever get you back on the podcast again?" He's like, probably not, just because, you didn't necessarily get me in trouble or anything, but we've had to take more thought about how delicate we want to be with releasing certain things or talking to the public or stuff like that. So he's like, as much as I would love to be on there at this point, like he's just kind of stepping back a little bit from,
Mhm.
being so much involved with, uh, you know, front facing, with the community and all that stuff.
Yeah.
But he joked a few times when I was there, like, "Oh, watch out, guys! This is the guy who got me in trouble." And da da
Yeah, he
da
doesn't
da.
want you to
So,
put the game on bet store again, basically, is
it,
what
but
he
it's funny too because I was talking because we were chatting about stuff and I was actually asking him some questions when it
people
comes to
yeah.
like Dragonlord and all this stuff. And he when I asked him questions, he said off record, right? And I said yes,
Yeah.
totally off record and all that stuff. So I'm not even going to talk about what he was telling me, but it's but he knows that I can separate podcasts from chatter and all that, and I respect, if they tell me off record, I'm not going to say anything. So I only
Yeah.
say stuff when they're being interviewed.
Mhm.
But it's still funny to see that they recognize that I stirred the pot a little bit more than they anticipated.
Yeah, I mean, people will mince every word, so those guys gotta be careful. You notice they don't do many interviews at all anymore.
Well, and according to
And yeah,
philosopher
he's not the guy that's really forward facing.
when according to philosopher cards, apparently I'm the mastermind behind all of that too. So
The beta reprints, the plunge.
the market drop.
Beta actually held up fine, really just kind of stabilized
Oh
and
yeah,
that
that's
there. It's actually so it's not in stock at Southern Hobby, but at Peach State Hobby, I think you can buy like 6 boxes at a time or something like that. It's paced, right? You can't like
yeah,
buy multiple cases, but you can pick up a case.
yeah. I was
The stores do that. They
I
make it
actually touched
available.
on that a little bit on this episode that I'm recording. I was talking about how the third wave didn't quite affect. Everybody was crying that the sky was going to fall and this was going to be the end of sorcery, and it dipped a little bit. a nice entry point for people who wanted to get in and get some of those more expensive cards or those staple uniques and stuff. We
Yeah.
definitely did see a dip. It did not
Mhm.
crash. You could still there was still a lot of value to things like Philosopher's Stone, Ring, Core, stuff like that. We did see a reasonable dip, but since then it's corrected, and I think we're actually seeing with the influx of new players and stuff, we're actually seeing that market correction going back up again, and at least for like non-foils and stuff. So I think it. I mean,
Mhm.
I think kind of took a healthy dip.
Yeah.
I didn't have the time or energy to time the market and get in and get some staples at that point, but I know a lot of people who were able to get in and kind of boost their collection. So
Yeah.
this
All right.
this my Dragonlord kit
Yeah,
here.
let's get
See the
into it,
last
and then
flat.
we'll
Is
we'll
this the
talk
last
more
one?
sorcery if you have time. This is the last one I'm going to
Sure.
open. I did a video drop every single day this week, starting
Okay.
on Sunday, I think. So there were like 6 boxes opened or so. I think it was like somehow it was 8 or 9. I did another one live, and I did
Okay.
one myself live, one for someone else live, and then I did a series of like 6, including this morning. And now there's
Okay.
this one. The guys asked me why I use the axe. I always use the axe tool. He said,
Yeah.
personally,
Yeah.
I
I
wouldn't want you
noticed that.
taking that to my cards nor my QR code.
Well,
I'm
you
very
got
skilled with the axe tool
be
because,
careful with that one because that one right there is Dan Mitchum's favorite card right
oh
there, right?
yeah,
That little
I
dragon
won't
guy.
mess with the dragon. All you have to do is kind of like get
I,
a
I already
little,
I already
little
have
square of the
one of those
seal.
QR. I have one of those QR cards, so no
Do
worries.
you?
Do you want to call it right now? Do you think you have a gut feeling of what this foil is going to be?
Dude, I don't know if you've seen any of the videos or heard or on the chat or on the socials, but I think I pulled like 4 Dragonlord
Oh,
avatars
let's hope for a fifth.
um
That's the one I'm
in
aiming
those
for.
boxes. Yeah, so I haven't pulled. I got a feeling it's going to be one of the ones. I'll go with. Let me think. I'm gonna go with Celestis. Now I'll go Moonsong.
Okay.
Moonsong.
So I was lucky enough to get one at Gen
Stands
Con
here.
to open for myself, and I got the Earth Dragon. I don't remember any of the most of the dragons' names, but
Oh,
the
okay.
Earth I
Oh,
got the
yeah, they're
Earth
top
one.
man.
So anything other than the Earth one will be great because I already have that one. But if I get it again, I'll trade it for something.
Yeah,
So
I'm gonna
here we
go
go.
Moonsong because it's the ultimate troll on Dan, who's in the chat causing a ruckus per usual. The lair I pulled a Dragonlord's lair. I pulled
Nice,
several.
nice.
Oh, it's 2 stuck together. I
I
pulled
think the
several of the Avatar, as I
okay.
mentioned. I didn't get any Celestis. That was the one I was gonna pick. So we'll see if the initial gut feel is accurate. I didn't get the Con rule.
I think
I think
my number one choice would be the Avatar. Number two would be the Lair, and I think number three would be the Throne. The
okay.
fact.
So this is what you got.
That's what I got. Yeah,
Yeah.
for one of them. Gorgeous
The,
card.
the shrine is they're all amazing. The shrine's pretty epic. It looks great in foil.
Yeah,
I think I might have got one shrine. I can't. Oh, I got a Kairos.
Kairos.
Kairos is
Okay.
awesome. That looks
I
great
built
in
a I
foil.
built a dragon deck recently, and Kairos was the only one I didn't put in there because as a judge, I don't want to cause that headache to someone else.
Yeah. I think I
It
got a
looks cool though.
Cradle. Yep.
Cradle's cool.
Yeah, Cradle looks
This guy,
great in
I
foil.
love this guy.
Yeah.
He's a pretty cool one.
It stands out because it's got a lot of the red tones.
Hmm.
Like none of the others really have that as prominently. All right. So those 2 are kind of oh, there you go. There's the Ignis,
Ignis.
the Draconis, and now the foil. Did you guess?
I didn't guess, but I'm wanting the Dragon Lord, but if
Yeah.
I had to guess, I'm gonna go with the Lightning one. I don't know. My gut's telling me something
Yeah.
about the Lightning.
Antonitum. All right, here we go.
I don't.
Oh, the lair,
Oh,
dude. Nice.
hey, I'm okay with that. That's
The
number
second
two.
lair. Dude,
Look at
that's a
that.
great hit.
Oh, that is
Yeah.
gorgeous.
Yeah, this is a
Wow.
beautiful foil.
So I've been wanting to. Well, thank you, Mike. Look at that. Nice. Thanks for your lucky hands.
Yeah, man.
I've been really excited to build a dragon deck, and this Dragon Lord set really puts you like I built a dragon deck um, using Celeste, and just
Yeah.
dumping all the
Yeah.
dragons into it. So this site right here is a staple for any dragon deck, and we're just gonna have more dragons coming out. So um, that deck is just gonna be getting filled with more and more dragons, and this site's a big part of that. I've actually played a couple games with one of my buddies, and this site, man, you stick this site up front in one of your front rows, and you just start dumping dragons,
Yeah.
on it. It gets out of hand. So that's
No,
a
sure,
great
sure.
pull, man. I'm
Yeah.
excited.
Yeah,
Look at
that's hot.
that. I have not seen that one up close in person yet. That's the one that Ed Beard Jr. That was his chase card. So I got to actually be there. I arrived on Wednesday evening just in time for a little bit of a judge. It was I don't want to say exclusive, but like it was a judge dinner that we were
Yeah.
invited to
Wednesday night.
with Ed Beard Jr. and
Yeah.
Eric's Kurosa team. And Ed, the video that the team released of Ed opening his Dragonlord set and discussing it, we got to see him do live there on the
Yep.
spot. And he said the number one card that he wanted was the Lair, and he only chose one box of his out of all the ones that he signed. He chose to sign that one as number one, and then he opened it himself, and he hit that Dragonlord site, the Dragon's
Oh,
Lair,
did
and
he?
he
That's
was
awesome.
so ecstatic, man. He was so excited, like you can tell that he felt like he won the lottery with his own card.
Yeah.
So
To call it like that, that's special. I love when things
nice,
work out like that. People
yeah,
get what they want.
yeah.
The
Well,
irony of people getting what they want with the Dragonlord mini set.
yeah. Hey, I mean, it's not a Dragonlord avatar, man, but
What a world
it
to
was
play.
my second. It was my second. Yeah, if you want to go into that a little bit, I do have some ideas with that one.
Yeah, we could have a general chat. Let me package up your thing, but you can go. Actually, I'll drop the overhead cam. We'll go back to regular chat mode.
There you go.
Yeah, there's all types of like. I mean, I got as much time as you want, but there's a
Um,
lot of interesting stuff going on. We haven't talked in probably 6 months at least. So
yeah, we still got to get you on the podcast, man. I'm working to catch up a little bit, and
yeah,
I
dude.
would definitely love to have you on. I would actually love to um, have you on to discuss a lot of the. I mean, you've talked a lot about the market with various people, so I'd love to talk like market and artwork, and maybe something to do with the like artwork market, the artwork side of things, like
All right.
how paintings have been selling, samples have been selling, all that
Yeah.
stuff. So we'll get you on. It's just I'm a bit of a getting an outline planned ahead of time, and you're a loose cannon, so I got to make sure that we get you on a good day.
I'm always nice on camera. I
Yeah,
like
you're nice
improv
in person
style.
too. I've shaken your hand a couple times. You're nice. You're a
Yeah,
great guy
yeah.
in
I'm
person.
I'm nice to everybody.
We give each other we we give each other we some sick burns once in a while, and but it's all in good fun.
Yeah. Hey,
Now as far
before we
as
talk sorcery, do you want to talk
yeah,
about these promos really quick?
sure,
About the bugs?
yeah. What do you got?
We might as well piss everybody off before we get into sorcery talk.
Shard bug.
So I think the first, or is it the first four were like, here, I'll put these aside.
Yeah, there
These,
you
these
go.
were the first four that Lewis had sent me.
Yeah,
So
so
you don't have to tell me. I think I
these
just what was it? All right, now go ahead and tell me like where these ones are from.
so
These are promo cards, right?
yeah, these are pre Kickstarter sample production promos. These were
Okay.
made as sample cards to test different foiling patterns and stuff, and we
Ah,
specifically made these into promos because they're like they're sample pre-Kickstarter stuff. So
yep.
Dave, right there, that's the most rare one. I believe there's only 50 copies of that one. I want to say.
Nice.
So that one he's a main character. He's a main. Uh, he's really important to the lore. He's one of Lewis's favorite parts of the whole lore. So there's only 50 of him. He's a hard to find one, and I don't pay attention to the secondary market these days because I'm trying to stay, separate. Being part of the team, I've been trying to
Yeah.
stay separated from that. Every once in a while, I'll ask people like, "Hey, what's this going for these days? What's the average of that?" But I don't pay
Uh-huh.
attention just because I feel like I don't really want to have that kind of knowledge. But I did hear that Dave is fetching a pretty penny these days, and
Is
people are
that
pretty
right?
excited
Nice.
about it. So yeah, these are all special sample promos. They have
This is cool.
foiling what do you call it? A
One.
foiling pattern, a foiling
Mask?
mask texture. They have
Yeah.
a foiling treatment. There you go.
Oh, treatment.
That we
Okay.
don't have on any other cards yet, and I don't know if we plan on repeating these treatments on future things. A
Gotcha.
lot of people liked them, but again, this was just us trying out different treatments. Um, and so these are something, not only are they sample cards, because some of these cards, when they actually made it into the real set, their stats were slightly changed.
Uh-huh.
So, they're not exactly the same in the normal one. I think for the most part, I'm pretty sure they might be the same. But for example, um, like the cost to play them up in the top left corner,
Yeah.
that's kind of naked looking for the numbers, at least. It's kind of naked looking compared to what we have now in the present actual product. We have more of a um,
Oh yeah.
we have like a gray little shard looking uh,
The shard
circle
bugs.
around them. Yeah. Plus the
Someone
backs
was
are different
asking.
too. Yeah.
Someone
So
was
these
asking what the game is called. So it's called
ah
shard bugs.
shard bugs. Yes. So
Yep.
a quick 5-second pitch. It's a trading card game developed by Two Fluent Lewis from the sorcery community. He made his own game. It's been years in development, and we have a full team, a lot of team, not a lot of team members, but we have a handful of team members, a full team, including a art director and a full art team. And all the art is hand drawn. Some of it is physically drawn and then digitalized. Some of it is digitally drawn, and every single one of our cards is based on actual bugs that you find in the real world, actual species of bugs. And like I was saying earlier, we take these bug species and we learn about the bug species. And then we turn that bug species into a card utilizing its traits, features that you find, its defense mechanisms, special cool things about them. And we design those into the cards themselves, whether it's the artwork, the mechanics, the stats on them, stuff like that. So whatever cool little things that they do, most of the time the actual bug itself, what the bug does in nature, will somehow reflect on the artwork or the stats or the mechanics here. And these right here that you're going through, so these ones now are um, these are part of the league promos that we have. So we printed a handful. We printed 6 different promos
Mm-hmm.
specifically for. So these ones are different. So the ones that you just went through are the league promos, and those are specifically for when you do online. We have an online league similar to Sorcery's online league, as well as in-store leagues for competitive play. And those 6 promos that you show are ones that you can get
Yeah.
for free just by showing up and playing. You can get a free
Okay.
one online. Those 3 right there, and then the 3 tokens are all a specific foiling, treatment. Look at those.
Yeah, those are
And
interesting.
and again, there were 3,000 each of these ones made. That's all public knowledge. We're very transparent about our print numbers when it comes to this stuff.
3,000. Mm-hmm.
So 3,000 of those, and they're only going to be this first wave of league promos. After that, I don't think we're going to be printing those ones again. So these ones right here are
Mm-hmm.
part of the um, convention promos. So this guy right here, I believe he was from the Collecticon Orlando, I want to say. So if
Okay.
you went to the convention and you came to the vendor booth and you did learn to plays, we did that. This guy was from the Collecticon Miami. That's the
I
one that
remember
I
seeing this
attended there.
online.
That was our very first one. Yeah, he's a popular one. Very cool. And then the last one right there, that's a crowd favorite right there. That's one of my favorite, man.
Yeah.
That's so beautiful. Such
Yeah.
a beautiful card,
Great
man.
foil. It's a
Um,
cool art design.
that one right there is from the SiestaCon convention that we had. That was the second convention that we had. And just coming to the booth, saying hi to the team, learning about the game, listening to what we have to do, to say, and doing a little learn to play. You were given one of those promos. We have since
Yep.
um, had opportunities to win them through various contests and giveaways in the Discord server and via the social medias.
Mm-hmm.
So we do still have some that we are giving away for special occasions, but those promos are are rare. Look at that, and this promo right here.
Sparkle
Right,
syrup, man.
you want to tell the backstory on that one right there? That's a big part of your collection right there, man. Your syrup
Maple.
collection.
Yeah, I obviously everyone knows I can't read or I refuse to. I can do it. I just choose not to, is what I tell people. So sometimes, like in my haste, I misspell things too. So I was doing a sample pack break and I spelled it Smaple pack. So
Mm-hmm.
the guys colluded and sent me a set of maple syrup, but then KevMo I think your girlfriend, I want to say, bought
Yeah.
this and said you got to bring it to Sorcery Con. That's where
hmm
you honored me with this gift.
She saw that and
Run
said,
amok.
"Oh, it's sparkly and it's syrup. Mike would love that." And then I thought it was fitting because it says "run amok" on there, and you're kind of known to
Yeah,
just kind of run amok.
that's funny. All right, let me drop the overhead cam. All right, let's talk sorcery, man. As
Sure.
we just did a little tangent on. So KevMo is the community manager. I think you mentioned of Shardbug, so that's why we went
Yep.
on that little tangent there. Do a
Yep.
little
Yep.
cross
Yep.
promo for you guys
If you're
in your
interested, shardbugstcg.com. Quick shout out.
okay.
Check it out. We have a Discord server, tabletop simulator, mod, all that stuff, and really
Oh, so
great
that's you.
community. Yeah.
Yeah. Cool, man. Yeah, and there's a lot of crossover too. I notice a lot when I go into your Discord server. There's a ton of sorcery fans and some. I like seeing new names too of like people I don't know. I like seeing some of the old G's and stuff. OGs. We talk
Yeah.
every day in the sorcery discords, but it's kind of refreshing. Sometimes you jump into another Discord and you kind of meet all kinds of new people. It's
Yeah,
nice
we
to
got
get
familiar
centered
faces
from
in
time to
there.
time.
Yeah. I
Uh
even had when I went to Gen Con and I was at the dinner with the team and with Ed. I was even congratulated and given well wishes by Simon and Chase, who were there. They were
huh.
familiar with shard bugs, and they've been kind of keeping up a little bit with the game and the status because it's kind of not closely related, but like you said, there's a slight overlap with the communities and stuff, and so
Yeah.
they've been keeping up and they wish us best on that one and said that it's doing good things and they've been keeping tabs on it, so that was really cool.
Hmm.
But yeah, let's go into Dragonlord a little bit.
Yeah.
I will be sharing some thoughts and stuff on the podcast episode that's coming out soon, but for the most part, um, I have more comments on a possibilities of like an aftermath versus the how they went about doing it.
Hmm.
I do think that, and this is coming from conversations that I've seen them already have in the Discord servers and that they've had in interviews and various conversations at Gen Con, but it very much seemed like originally, early on, they had expressed this whole um, plan to release one set a year for main sets, and they had originally, Eric had originally basically said that he wanted to do one mini set in between each of the main sets, and that was kind of their original plan. It was a main set, a mini
Yeah.
set, a main set, a mini set. Um, and I think that this mini set with Ed Beard Jr., they were using so much of his world building, his lore, his characters. He had, his paintings were all just huge and stuff. And I think that they kind of bit off more than they can chew when it comes to these mini sets. And I think that they thought that it was going to be a fun, not, I mean, it is fun. They thought that it was going to be more realistic on paper. And when they actually got into the production side of it with, giving the artists the amount of time that they need to pump out all these works, especially when they're huge, when they're as detailed as something like Ed Beard Jr. I mean, I don't know how long it takes him to complete a thing, but I know a lot of his pieces were big and he was getting
Hmm.
very detailed. And so it took him time, so much so that, they can't rush the process. They want to make sure that it's high quality. They want to give the artist, their recognition. They want to give the artist something that they can be proud of. And so they didn't want to dip in quality. So they gave him the time. It was kind of delayed a little bit. You had the whole, it was supposed to come out before Arthurian Legends, and we didn't see that because I think there was a delay with getting the mini dragon set out. But I think it was a lot more than they anticipated when it comes to how much time the artist is going to need to have a full set dedicated to one artist pumping out all these pieces.
Hmm.
And I think it was more so too because Ed didn't just have these pieces ready to go. Like these were pieces that he painted for this specifically. So
Yeah.
between the amount of time that it took for the artist to have the time to do their set, um, the amount of high quality that they wanted to push for this thing, they were utilizing these companies that had this great product. But I think that it ended up in today's world with tariffs and these companies and production costs going up. I think that it ended up being higher production costs than they anticipated. I think that they might have taken a little bit more of a hit and they had to probably had to take a little bit of a hit to their numbers. I think that they might have thought that they were going to be able to produce more than they originally thought, and they just had to balance out the cost. And if they would have produced more than a certain amount, it would have started going into, cutting into costs and stuff to the point where it might have, I don't know, dug too much into profits and stuff, or even resulted in breaking even or loss of profits or something. So I think they went into it wanting this to be a regular once a year thing, different artists, different stuff, to all of a sudden like, oh wow, this is actually the reality of how big a production this is, how much money it takes, how much work this is, the costs behind it, the manufacturing costs were more than anticipated. So I think they had to dial it back. And in doing that, we did see them limiting this more than I think they originally anticipated. I don't think that they, because they're on stage saying that this is going to be limited. They knew that this was going to be limited. So this isn't just something that every single player is going to have access to, which is that's a limited product. You can't just expect every player to have one delivered to their house, because then it's not limited. It's, so they already said from the get-go, this is going to be limited. But I don't think that even they anticipated it being this limited. And they've been very careful with their communication. And I think if they would have communicated that ahead of time, there would have been more of a backlash than it already was. This is something that they saw the popularity and how in demand it was at something like Gen Con and these other future conventions it's going to be at. So they know that the demand is there. And they did a really good job of trying their best to limit it too, because they knew that it was going to be limited, one person per day. And they had people manning the lines at all times too. Drew was handing them out, to each individual person. You had somebody at the front of each line. You had Chase going up and down the line. So it's not like it would have been easy for somebody to go in there and get one unnoticed who had been there earlier that day, just because they're interacting with every single one of these people. So they did try really, I got to give them that they tried really hard to, limit it, instead of just like, oh yeah, anybody can get as many as they can pay for. But again, it was a lot more limited, than they anticipated, at least for now. I know that they are going to have them available at each of the Star City Games conventions, as well as Ed Beer Jr. is going to have some available. We're going to see other stores get them. So I think more are going to start seeing, more are going to start hitting the hands of players and collectors. And I think we're going to see the market even out a little bit more. But my idea was because we've been having people that said that it would be great to get a reprint of this. And while I don't think that they would do that, because that kind of defeats the purpose of having this limited thing. And again, going back into the costs, it would probably be a lot more, cost wise for them to do a whole second print run of this. But I thought that it would be really cool to possibly leave this one as the premium product, the box, the guaranteed foil, premium product. But instead of re-releasing the full premium product again, you want this one to remain special for those collectors who were able to race and get their hands on them. But at the same time, you want some of these. I'm not even paying attention to the chat, so I don't know if I'm blowing up on this.
He caught you on the reprint word. You said the R word.
Oh, right. Be careful these days. But I think it would be healthy to see at least the non-foils become more available in the hands of the players who want to actually use these cards. And the non-foils, when I check the market, aren't totally unreasonable, and they are uniques, even though they are in a product that treats them, like they're not hard. You get one of every one in the pack, in the box. So I thought, for the sake of having something, if they did want to release this product in a way that would allow it to get more in the hands of players without losing its collectability and its premium feel, would be to re-release the non-foils in just a booster pack. And the booster pack can have the Dragonlord art on the booster pack, and that booster pack could be $40 for the booster pack, and it comes with all the non-foils and a chance at a possible foil. And then now you have a lower cost for the fact that you're not getting the box and you're not getting the guaranteed foil, but you are getting the guaranteed non-foils and the possibility of a foil. And that helps to balance out the get the non-foils out in the market. The non-foils might go down a little bit more to a level where you would probably see most of these non-foil uniques out there. And then the foils might see a tiny little bit of a correction because you're going to have a chance at a foil, but you're not going to have a guaranteed foil, so it's not going to completely tank the foil market, but it'll maybe a small reasonable correction to be able to make them a little bit more affordable while being able to retain that they are special and they are highly collectible and they are gorgeous and they are premium. So that was kind of my idea. Like if they did do something, that would be a way to go, like a $35-$40 pack with all the non-foils and a chance at a foil in just a booster pack, non-premium product, just to get it out there. So that's what I thought would be a cool idea. I don't know. I don't know if that would be something that, the last time I gave the sorcery team an idea, because when I was on the interview with Simon, I was asking like, how would the product be distributed? And he asked me how I would like to see it. And I actually presented the idea of having all of them in the set with a chance of one of them being a foil. And that's what they did. So, I don't want to I don't want to toot my own horn or brag or nothing, but like coincidentally, my idea ended up being the way that they presented it in the first place. So maybe this idea will rub off on them. But I don't know. I think it would be nice to see some of the non-foils hit more players' hands, but definitely allow the premium side of this product to remain premium. But maybe the foils can see a little bit of a dip while still remaining, special and collectible. So
yeah, I mean, but like you say, the non-foils aren't that expensive, really, and you don't need all
yeah,
13. So
well,
from a pure player perspective, if you only need a few of them, you're talking
yeah,
maybe a couple $100. Like yeah, you could have had all of them at $60, but you got to pay double to triple that. Is it really gonna
yeah.
ruin your life? I mean,
Well,
you can get them, right? If you
most
want to
people
play,
aren't
you
going to
can get them.
be yeah, most people aren't going to be playing with every single one of these.
Yeah.
Like most of these dragons are not playable in an average deck, so you might only ever want two, 1 to 3 of them to actually play in a deck, unless you're playing a dragons deck, and then you kind of want all of them. But outside of a dragon deck, um, if you just want the avatar and one of the dragons to run the deck, or even just some of the dragons to stick into a normal deck that
Yeah.
isn't running the avatar, you
Hmm.
want to be able to pick up those singles and run them. So, the
Yeah.
average person doesn't need all of them unless they want to collect them all, or like I said, play a dragon deck. So it would be nice to see them become a little bit more obtainable for the average person. But realistically, most people probably aren't going to be needing to get most of them.
Yeah,
So
and it's still early. I mean, they're going to go to SCG Con. There's 3 more
yeah,
this calendar year, but SCG Con happens 11 times per year. So if they have enough supply remaining, they can take it to 11 more shows potentially. And who
yeah,
knows what else? Like they're going to that PAX Australia. I guess they're not going to Spiel Essen, I assume at this point. They haven't said anything, although they announced a pretty short notice last year. So
hmm
who knows? I mean, but maybe I don't know if they'll. I mean, I'm not expecting really any events besides PAX and the 3 SCG cons this calendar year, and I assume they'll have.
Well, they
At,
also have the World Championship too. That
yeah, but
hasn't
that's
been.
next calendar year. I'm just
Oh
talking about
yeah,
like
next.
this
Oh,
calendar
this
year.
year, yeah, yeah. I'm
Yeah,
just saying, like that would be a cool place too to see
yeah,
the
draw
Dragonlord
people out.
product there. Yeah.
Yeah,
So
it'll
yeah,
be
yeah,
interesting to see like what the demand is post Gothic too, or if it just kind of like simmers, fizzles a little bit, and becomes very attainable and non
mhm,
foil. But yeah, I don't know. I think they're going to let it be, and I think if they reprinted, it would just be because they sold so many at Gen Con. It was really like out of control. I think they sold at least a couple thousand at Gen Con.
mhm,
So if they're anticipating similar demand from 3 more shows, and then they still want to have some into next year, they might low key. My guess would be they would reprint and not tell anybody. They would just
mhm.
do it and then bring it to the shows, and then no one would know either way, right? It's just like we know that they printed more than they gave the distribution. We don't
Yeah,
know like if they're warehousing it right now or if they're going to print more. Like just do it behind the scenes. Don't tell anybody. Let natural demand be what it'll be, and it'll be fine.
yeah,
However, they have a massive problem internationally because those people have like nothing, right? So that's where it's like a trickier decision because if they print there, they almost got to say that they did it, or I don't know. I think it would be like you can't mask it as well, and I think there's a lot of danger in saying like, yeah, we printed more because there's already a lot of outcry from the collector base and people will just go nuts. People are the crowd that's upset from beta and maybe Arthurian Legends being heavily printed. Are going to lose confidence if you use the reprint word.
Which
slippery slope.
I feel like there's a double-edged sword there, because it's better to be transparent, I feel like, and just play cleanup than it is to try to do some shady stuff and then somebody finds out and then it just puts you in a worse position. But I do feel like I wouldn't be mad if they reprinted this set, because I wasn't really in it for the collectability side. Like if my foil went from, I don't even know what that's at, but if it all of a sudden just became $100 foil, like it's still worth $100, but now people can pay $100 and get it. And I wouldn't be terrible. I'm not selling these foils. I'm keeping them because I think that they're gorgeous, and I only have a couple of them. But I know that there's some big flippers who, I think the people getting the most upset are going to be the people with the bigger investment in it and the more money on the line, and they're pushing in the thousands of dollars and stuff, and a percentage is going to be a bigger hit to them. So someone like myself, like I wouldn't be terribly upset if it got reprinted, and I could get another kit and keep it sealed for long-term collection stuff. But I don't know. I think if they did do that, they would still need to make sure that it was still limited. But it would be nice to not have people. You're never going to make everybody happy, because if it was up to everybody, they would just have it mailed to every single one of the millions of players' houses, and everybody would have one. But that's not how a limited product works, unfortunately. And so there's going to be, if you have one, you're going to be happy, and if you don't have one, you're going to feel upset about it. And that's just kind of how it goes, unfortunately. I'm privileged,
and like right now it's the only thing, so it's like exacerbated to an extreme. But as we're like a couple months from now, we'll be in like prime spoiler season for Gothic, and then Gothic will be out and all this drama will be behind us. So I think it's a bunch
probably
of
I think Gothic will, humans are fickle creatures, man, and their attention span lasts a couple of hours, and then they go to the next thing. So once Gothic comes out, their attention's going to be there, and then it's going to be the next broken card in Gothic. That's the new Ring of Morgana in Gothic, and then everyone's going to flip. And
there'll be some other broken card that people will be furious about, so they can be mad about something else.
No, but and understandably, it is easier to say all this stuff when you have one in hand versus somebody who's upset that they didn't have any. But I did help some people. I went there with the intention of getting a few friends. So a couple of the ones that everyone got to get one per day, and I got a couple extras, and I was able to hook up my friends who unfortunately either couldn't get there, or I had one friend who their friend promised to get her one, and then that friend kind of bailed and flaked on her, and she couldn't get a hold of them. So she's like, I am so sorry, but like my friend flaked on me, and I was planning on getting it from them. Like, I could try to get you one. So like I ended up
probably didn't want to stand in line for 2 hours.
Well, she didn't even get to go. Her friend. But so luckily I was able to get one from Gen Con for myself, and then the one that you just opened is my other one. And all the other ones that I picked up from Gen Con went to somebody. So I helped the community and some friends out too. So I wasn't one of those people walking out with like 4 of them in hand, like, these are all me. But no, there was one day that I missed my daily one because I was judging for the one of the main events. But that was just going to be my sealed one, and I'm happy having 2 open ones. So plus you got my Dragon's Lair, man. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah, that was a nice hit. Congrats.
Thank you.
All right, are they going to print more Gothic than beta?
Man, well, we got 3 waves of beta. Gothic's supposed to be a big set. It's supposed to be a core set. So I feel like they will probably, instead of doing multiple waves like this, they might just do a print run that was the same amount as all 3 waves, maybe. Especially if now they opened up distribution through different channels to Europe and Asia, like we just saw them announce earlier this month with their new partnerships with international distributors. I mean, they have more product now, so I wouldn't be surprised if they print more, just because there's more distribution channels and there's more countries that are trying to get their hands on it. As much as they printed beta this last time, there were whole markets that didn't get it at all, in different regions. And so if they want to make sure that those regions have enough, I wouldn't be surprised if they printed it to the same amount that they printed beta. So, and I kind of like them doing it in waves, because then you don't just have the market, flood at in the beginning, and then it's hard to find something towards the end of the year. Whereas in like the 3 waves of beta, we saw product get introduced into the market, into the hands of stores and players and stuff for prize support throughout the year, lasting us all the way to Gothic. So I kind of like the way that they, not necessarily, you know, everyone has different feelings about the actual reprint versus like the
Hmm.
waves. But I think the fact that they introduced it in waves, even if it's like whether they go reprint or whether they go one print just in waves, I think the waves idea was a good idea, just to reintroduce it, in beginning of the year, middle of the year, and end of the year, to kind of supplement that
Are
until
you
the
talking
next
beta right now or Arthurian
well,
Legends?
this was for beta. Arthurian
Yeah.
Legends, did they only do one? Did they only do
I
one
mean,
wave
they
of?
said it would be a single print. It would be released in waves, so that the prevailing thought is it was warehoused and then
Yeah,
fed through distribution. But
yeah,
I think demand was a little soft on that one. So, I mean,
smaller
at
set.
the end of the day, how much they print is all relative to demand. So
Yeah,
I
smaller
don't know. Are
set.
they going to print more Gothic than beta? If the
I would,
demand warrants it, then maybe.
yeah, and I think that they would print more than Arthurian Legends, because Arthurian Legends was meant to just be a smaller set. So I wouldn't hate it if they went like big set, small set, big set, small set. Um,
Interesting.
I
Well, now you got shard bugs to play. What about the guy that's like all full time sorcery? What do you think about the annual release? I'm
um
curious, like, from a player. I mean, you're not a player that only plays sorcery now at this point, but like from
yeah.
that person's perspective, do you get bored with a set after 3 or 4 months, or can you sustain for a
No,
full
I
year?
I think that there's enough. If you play in just your regular store and you have your play group, I could see it getting stale there, because the meta is not really going to shift when you're locked with the same small group of people. But if you're playing online through any of the competitive leagues or the sorcery league, you see the meta shift every month, every couple months. People are playing new things, and so it really brings it to a refreshing shift to the meta. People are trying new stuff. By the tail end of the year, people are kind of like, just been playing the same thing. So
Yeah,
ideally, I think that it would be fun to do 2 sets in a year and have one be a big set of like 200 and something cards, and then one be like a smaller set of like 150 cards, or even like a 300 card set, and then like a 200 card set or 180 card set, like in the same calendar year. So it's like a big set and a small set in a year. But
hmm,
that would be like my ideal thing. But it's still better than one set every month like we see with some games. So
yeah. That's too much. I mean, there's a balance somewhere in between, but
I
yeah.
think that's getting a little dark here. So that might be all the time I can give you this time
All right,
around.
man.
Is there anything else you want to touch on real quick before
No,
I
I'll
end
let
this
you
with you?
run. Yeah, it was interesting. It was so light there because it's been dark here. I'm
Yeah,
on the East Coast, so it's 11 o'clock for me,
yeah,
but you're West Coast, 8 o'clock, right?
yeah.
Well, thanks for popping
I
in,
just
man.
Yeah, of course.
Congrats on
I got some
the
family
lair.
visiting too that I got to get back to.
Yeah,
So
yeah. I'll let you run.
I'm entertaining. But
I
thanks
should get
thanks
this.
again, man. I appreciate you bringing me on. It's been a while. It's good to
Yeah,
see you. We definitely should do this more
likewise.
often now that I'm getting back into I'm breaking off from the hiatus. I'm back into a better place, physically, mentally, and spiritually and financially.
Yeah,
No,
yeah.
I'll
Good to hear, dude.
just so I'm doing better, and I'm trying to get back active again. I've been a little bit more active in my podcast Discord server. I'm gonna bring the podcast back, and so I'd love to hop back on these with you, and we got to get you on here soon. And yeah, thanks for a solid hit in my box, man. I appreciate it.
Yeah, man. I'll get it out to you Sunday. Probably you'll have it sometime this week.
All right, sounds good, man.
All right, take
Take
care.
care, everybody.
I'll see you. All right, guys. Let me see. All right, I kicked him out of the studio. There was a kick out of studio button in the StreamYard. I don't know. Yeah, I think his dad was visiting or something. He told me something. He was driving. He was driving a mortal like across enemy lines or something to the wilderness. I don't know, man. I don't know about that. I KevMo went on there for a while talking about. I don't know, man. I didn't really agree with like almost anything he said, to be honest. Nice guy, real nice guy, but wasn't really making sense with this pack It was all non-foils, and then you get a random foil. I think if you reprint, I wanted to let him talk, hear him out, but I mean, if you put out this like new product with a new collation approach, it'd just be like a weird thing. People be like, "What are you doing?" You know, you just like masking reprints. I could see the rage. I could see the rage like across the discords, like people coming into the official discords and the sorcery groups and stuff, and saying like, "What is this? You just reprinting it and calling it something else?" I don't think that would work. I don't think that would help consumer confidence. The what was the other thing he was talking about with like something about like it's expensive to print. I mean, I don't know, man. I mean, like obviously there's economies of scale if you print hundreds of thousands of boxes, or tens of thousands, right? But if you print like people think Dragonlord is 10 to 20, I think most people think 10 to 15. Sure, it'd be like a little more expensive, but I don't think it'd be prohibitively expensive. I think what happened was distribute, like I talked about in all my episodes. I did like many videos where I talked about this, like well before the release and then after the release. And before the release, I put out there two theories. One, that they strategically short printed it, which means they were trying to hit this balance to make it like fairly rare. But I think they also underestimated in that scenario. I think they, in both scenarios, potentially, I think they underestimated the demand of their own product. And I think Eric probably perceived it as like this incredible art product, right? The incredible art of Ed Bear Jr. But while a lot of people, a lot of tubers were negative on it and saying like 13 cards, how could that possibly do anything for players and affect the meta, the gameplay, yada, yada. You know, there's a lot of like negativity about it, and people are like, yeah, maybe people don't really want this, right? So maybe they're conservatively printed in, and they were overly conservative, trying to strategically make it a little more rare, with the idea of this being a set that holds value, to kind of recover and restore confidence after Arthurian Legends had less demand and less value. That was one theory. The second theory was that maybe it was rejected by distribution because Arthurian Legends was a weaker set. You know, there was a lot. Kickstarter had no distribution aspect. That was direct to consumer through Kickstarter, right? So it wasn't through classical distribution like Southern Hobby and Peach State. Then you went to beta, and since there was such a wide gap and pent up demand between alpha and beta, there was a lot of demand for beta initially, you know, on the first few waves. So it was selling like a lot. I think I sold 500 boxes through Patreon on the first release. And I didn't get any. I was trying to get an agreement with Eric's Curiosa. I guess Eric didn't want to do it for whatever reason. Fine. I don't know what his reasons were. But so I went to Plan B, and I collaborated with some stores, a couple stores. And I think I sold like 500-ish boxes in collaboration with one store. And then I think I worked with like another store. That might have been on the second wave. I kind of forget if I had a second store at release. Let's call it like 500 to 600 boxes, right? It's pretty substantial, right? Because my Patreon was much smaller at that time. We're talking almost a couple years ago at this point. But, you know, it was still decent sized Patreon, and I wasn't selling like 10 cases to one person. It was like at most like a few cases, but it was across several people. So it ended up being a substantial number of boxes. It was really great. And then with Arthurian Legends, so that was the first experience with distribution, right? So then distribution probably anticipated a ton of demand for Arthurian Legends and assumed like this is the next hot game. It's going to be massive. And we were all very excited about Arthurian Legends, right? So I think they ended up printing a lot of Arthurian Legends, and they were probably looking at metrics like, you know, Play Network and Dust Store maybe. And then typically you gauge demand through distribution, who is supposed to reach out to retailers and say, how much of this product do you want? And then they relay that to the publisher, the creator, Eric's Curiosa, and say, these are the demand figures we're getting. And then they make an informed decision on what to print. So that's what happened with Arthurian Legends. And then there was like a boom, like a big wave of initial demand, but then it kind of, the market was quickly satiated both on the collector side and the player side, I believe. So it kind of fizzled out a bit, right? So there's still a lot of product, and Arthurian Legends has pretty much always been available. So there was a situation implicitly, you can tell by the availability at distribution and the secondary market prices that supply exceeded demand. You always want demand to be either in equilibrium or demand ideally a little less than supply from a valuation perspective if you want the product to hold value or appreciate in value. And maybe you grow into it with some natural growth, and as people discover the game like they just did at Gen Con. The interesting thing about Gen Con on this point, actually, so as the game grows, then you have new people, and they're not satiated yet, right? So they want to go back and they want to collect beta and they want to collect Arthurian Legends, which is great. Growth cures all in a way, right? As long as you don't egregiously overprint and flood the market, and you cannot like grow enough into it, right? But when they went to Gen Con, they sold a ton of Dragonlord, but they also had Arthurian Legends. No one talked about this. In talking with Ed Beard Jr., he's like, Mike, they weren't just selling Dragonlord. They had a lot of Arthurian Legends there as well. And they might have had beta too. I can't remember if Ed told me that or not, but he said like they sold a ton of Arthurian Legends, and they were selling it at like MSRP, I believe, which is like well above market price. So that is an obvious. So no one's going to go there unless they need it like on the spot for draft play. No person that's like already invested in sorcery is going to go pay MSRP at the event, right? In any kind of volume. This is going to be new people. So this is the evidence, right? That we have new growth at Gen Con, because new people were buying Dragonlord mini set, and oh, by the way, they were buying a box or two or however many of Arthurian Legends at MSRP. So at like, what is it, $130 instead of whatever market price is probably 80 or 90, right? So they're paying a premium to also enjoy the other product after they fell in love with the Dragonlord. So that's a very healthy condition that indicates new growth, new interest. So you had that, but at distribution, they have a lot of supply, right? And they've always had it available, and there's not a lot of retailer demand or consumer demand on it, or at least like supply is exceeding that demand. So there was some confidence erosion, I think, from distribution, and maybe they didn't want to take on as much Dragonlord because, between the naysayers on the YouTubes and then the retailers not buying Arthurian Legends and Arthurian Legends being plentiful, maybe they took a conservative, risk-averse approach and told Eric's Curiosa, no, we're not going to take on a lot of this product, Dragonlord, that is. So it wasn't by design, like KevMo was saying, in my opinion, due to the cost to print. I think that's negligible. I don't think the cost to print matters so long as you can sell at MSRP or sell at your wholesale price, your wholesaler price to distribution, because there's enough margin there relative to print costs, obviously, for Eric's Curiosa when they sell a bunch to distribution at wholesaler pricing, and then they sell it to stores, and stores sell it to you. And there's enough of a markup for all those players in the supply chain to make a reasonable profit. So I think the retailers, for whatever reasons, I think because Arthurian Legends was weak and all those different factors, it seems to me they did not gauge retailer demand. So they probably just threw their hands up and said, like, it seems to me they didn't even ask. All the stores I talked to were like, they were asking for it. And it was in that direction. It wasn't like distribution was asking the stores how much they want, which is the normal way it's supposed to work. That's the purpose of distribution. They're supposed to market and showcase the product and sell it to the stores, ask the stores how much they want and need based on their local player demand or their whatever collector demand, whoever's buying product from them. And that's the gauge for demand. It seems like with our Dragonlord, they didn't do that for some reason. So they just picked a number. It wasn't a lot. And then kudos to Eric's Curiosa. Seems to me they decided to take on the risk, and the risk is a magnitude of print cost. So distribution says I need this much for the market demand based on what I'm hearing from the stores, right? And what the stores are telling me is, whether they were asking the stores or not, this is what they're telling Eric's Curiosa. This is the demand. This is how much product I will take on from you. Eric's Curiosa obviously printed more than the distribution was willing to take on. So then the risk pivots to Eric's Curiosa, who can't just wholesale it to distribution. They have to bank on bringing it to events and assuming that the demand was going to be there at events. So it's actually worked out amazingly in their favor. And they might actually have not printed enough, in my theory, because I don't know, given how much they sold at Gen Con, which is an insane amount, that just like Kickstarter, I believe wildly exceeded their own expectations. They probably did not lean into that risk enough, and you really can't blame them. They're getting intel from Play Network, from stores directly, from distribution, what they're hearing, and they gauge a demand, they gauge a certain overage, right? So let's say, make numbers easy, distribution demands 10,000. Eric's Curiosa says, okay, how much are we going to print? How much demand do we think will be there on the spot at the show, which is in addition to the amount they gave to Team Covenant and the amount they sold to the wholesaler for distribution, right? The major distributors, PhD and Soho. So now they got to decide, all right, let's say it was 10,000 boxes between distribution and Team Covenant. How much are we going to print in addition to that, and assume the rest of we will be able to sell this direct to consumer at the shows? So they sold a couple thousand at Gen Con, in my estimation. And basically what people were saying, people were doing analysis on line duration and how much throughput. And, Ed, I think had some figures on how many he signed and stuff and how long the line was. Seems like there was a lot of information and intel they were gathering through that natural process. So if there was a couple thousand there that were sold there, how much more do they have after that big Gen Con boon? How much are they going to bring to SCG Con? These SCG Cons are not like Gen Con. Gen Con is massive, right? Tons of people. You go to SCG and there's a few thousand, right? It's a much smaller order of magnitude, but still substantial. And it's not like 2,000-3,000 people showing up just because they love sorcery. It's people that love Magic the Gathering, which is probably the majority, you would figure, right? But all these other indie games, just people that want to discover new games in general. There's Flesh and Blood. There's the new Bo Jackson Stadium League. Is that what it's called? The Bo Jackson cards? So there's all these other games, right? They're not all there for sorcery. So how much are you going to sell at each of those? Think about it, guys. Let's say these events are 3,000 people at an SCG Con. What do you think Eric's Curiosa is estimating they're going to sell without the luxury of having this foresight of what was going to happen at Gen Con? I think they're probably trying to figure out now, shit, what if it's like Gen Con? What if everyone saw and heard that it was insane at Gen Con and it's essentially free money? I mean, they're looking at, they don't talk about secondary market prices, but they know what they are. So they're probably like, guys, we're basically handing out money at these events. People love the product organically because a lot of them opened it on the spot and they asked Ed to sign it. So it's not like they were speculatively leaving it sealed. At that time, we didn't know what the foils and the singles, the non-foils were worth. So now that's all data that's out there, right? So now anyone going to SCG is assuming they're going to buy a $60 product that's worth $300 plus on the secondary market. They're handing out money, right? So how much money do you want to go collect as a fan, as a speculator, a scalper, whatever? Or just whatever, just like a person that wants to get, I mean, maybe you get one per day like last time, right? If they handle it like that, people are going to get 2 boxes and they're going to get 1 box for free, basically, and make some money on it. So who's not going to do that? Just, I mean, someone that values their time doesn't want to stand in line or deal with reselling it, right? But a lot of people are going to want to do that. So before Gen Con, they estimated probably enough. I'm sure they had the SCG agreement. They had this plan that they were going to go to 3 more shows this year. Maybe they even wanted some beyond that into SCG shows next year. But now it creates a bit of a dilemma because what I was getting at is if there's 3,000 people that go to SCG Con, what do you think they estimated before the Gen Con experience? I assume they probably estimated maybe they'll sell a few hundred boxes. A few hundred. Now they're probably like, well, shit, anyone that knows about this, they could sell 1,000, 2,000 maybe per show. You think a third of the people might? I don't know. Maybe that's still high. Maybe 500 to 1,000. Either way, it's going to be a lot more than they estimated is the point. So do they have enough inventory to serve all these SCG Cons now? Or do they sell out? Or do they have to pace it essentially? They already had to pace it at Gen Con. So maybe they have a lot right in the warehouse and they just didn't bring a lot to Gen Con. Maybe they allocated a certain amount for Gen Con. They allocated a certain amount for the SCG Cons when they printed the first time. So They blew through it. On day one, they sold a ton, day one of Gen Con. They had to pace it on day 2, 3, and 4, I think it was, Thursday through Sunday. And they sold out all of those days, and they sold out a lot faster. And then the last day they sold out in a flash. So now they're going to SCG Con with their pre-Gen Con demand assumptions. And if that's all the supply they have, then you might see a quick sellout and a frenzy there. So what did they do? Like I was telling KevMo, I guess he thought my thought was shady. It's not how I meant it, really. Like if they print and don't tell people, if they print more and don't tell people and bring it to these shows, that's not shady necessarily. They don't have to tell us anything. They don't tell us how much they printed of Beta, how much they printed of Arthurian Legends, how much they printed of Dragonlord. And they don't have to tell us. They don't, they could just print it and bring it there and sell it. Not because they're trying to hide something, but because that is what the demand warrants and what the demand would absorb. So if they underestimated Gen Con and underestimated SCG, what do? You either do nothing and you sell, you allocate like a amount that's likely going to wildly undersize demand, and you sell out fast, or you try to get more printed and you try to match demand, and that's where they can make a lot of money. That's not going to be prohibitively expensive like KevMo is speculating, I think. I don't think that's a factor at all. So it's going to be interesting. You either print and don't say anything, and that's fine because the demand's there. It'll sell. It's not going to hurt the market. Maybe it will on non-foils if there's a bunch out there. Or you just let it be, and you let people, you just say like, well, this exceeded demand. Great. That's how TCGs are, Sometimes, and maybe, I mean, the only worry would be that it's like a bad feel for people to travel for SCG if it sells out before they can get a box. That's gonna be a bad feel for some people. It's gonna exacerbate the heightened emotion that people already have. So that's not ideal. But aside from that, you could just take this approach of let it be. That's how TCGs are. Sometimes sets explode and they're massive. Sometimes they don't, and they plummet or they just drift, right? Arthurian Legends kind of drifted and flatlined. It didn't implode. It's not worthless, but it's like just kind of bottomed out and skimming across the bottom now, right? And if they grow, then there's be more demand. It did kind of stabilize an uptick, I think, on the singles and stuff like that. So it's probably in a fine place. If you do nothing, I don't know, maybe some people get upset that travel to the event. I guess it would like piss off players a little bit more, maybe. So it's kind of a tough one, but I don't know. If it were me, I'd probably just print some more and not announce it. They don't have to announce it. No one's going to care as long as there's demand to scoop it up and it doesn't jolt the secondary market. The people that care about the secondary market are going to be fine if the demand absorbs it and the prices are steady and healthy, and the players are going to be happy because they have access. So maybe that's the ideal if they could print it fast enough. The other alternative, they don't print it or they can't print it in time, and they don't have enough, and it sells out too fast. I mean, players get a little more upset, but then you're into Gothic season because we're talking like shows in October and November, right? So you're already like damn close to Gothic, if not already out for Gothic. So I think it kind of blows over and people just move on to Gothic, and it's fine. That's what I would say. All right, what are you guys talking about in chat here? There has to be enough to exist for someone to compare them. It doesn't seem like there was enough to begin with. What do you mean by that, Milo? I don't understand. There has to be enough to exist for someone to compare them. Compare what? Maybe I missed some context of what someone else was saying or what I was saying. So I was rambling endlessly. All right. Do you think there will be differences in the print or manufacturing people will eventually know? Oh, people will eventually know. I mean, I think there's always some risk of print variance just naturally. I mean, when I printed 2 rounds of playmats, they were a little different, the color values and stuff. I think like a good printer can probably match the color spectrum isn't the right word. I'm blanking on what the word is. It's late here, man. It's late and I'm hungry. Tired and hungry. But they could match it, and then it's a matter of quality control. But the inks could be different, a little bit. So you could have some variance. But I think it was like so stark in beta that's an interesting one. I wonder if Eric would ever speak on that. Was that by design to really tune the cards to a color value saturation that he was most pleased with to gear up for Dragonlord print. Because Dragonlord, he had a lot riding on that. That's a special art project, and you want to get that right for Ed and the fans and himself, Eric, to have pride in his product and make it a premium product, like they say. And then also for Arthurian Legends, the major follow-up set to beta, and then ultimately for, Gothic and beyond. So now they have those. If you can like hone those color values, then you can really get to a spot where the printer can replicate those exact colors for future sets once you find your Roy G. Biv. Okay. So what other questions you guys have? I'll take a few more maybe before we bounce. Do you think the demand for Dragonlord has been largely answered for at the moment? No, I mean, there's more demand than supply. So I think people are going to be chomping at the bit to get it at SCG Con. But then we're going to be close in the beta. So maybe it's like I say, if they're going to sell at MSRP for $60 and it's still $300 on the secondary, then you have like organic demand plus a lot of obvious speculative demand because it's free money at that point, right? So we're in a weird paradigm right now where you can't get a true gauge of where we are. Do you see active demand? It seems sales are slowing down. Well, I mean, I don't know how many people really are going to pay current pricing to get a full foil set. So I think that's why demand would slow down. I also don't know how many people are willing to spend $300. I think that's a minority of people. Maybe if we were in the alpha beta heyday, early aspects of beta, when there was a ton of collector confidence and people spending a lot, then sure, maybe they would be going for foil Dragonlord sets. But I think a lot of the hardcore collectors have gotten more conservative and risk averse, and there's going to be a lot less people going for the full foil Dragonlord set at current time. And maybe they think they're waiting. If you're more risk averse, then you wait to see, will they reprint? Will there be more supply? Will prices trail off? And people going for a full foil set are the people that are more well off financially anyway. They're willing to take a more risk averse approach and pay more if it goes up, if they really want it, right? They have the means to do so, or they'll think they'll be more prudent and wait for it to kind of decline a bit and get better prices. Let me see. They must still have boxes, as they said it'll be available at major events, but once it's out, the should I don't understand typo. Just let it be and move on to the next thing. I think they said it'd be available. The question is, how much do they have to bring? Is it going to be like a first day sellout at SCG Con? SCG Cons are a 3-day event. Are they going to sell it all out the first day? Or are they going to pace it and only sell like 50 to 100 boxes per day? And you got to be first in line. And then like you're saying sorry all day as people come up to the booth. It's tough, man. If they have supply that dramatically undercuts demand at those SCG Con events, it's going to be a weird dynamic. Yeah, Daniel says tons more in demand, but not at $400. Yeah, I mean it's natural supply and demand economics or price elasticity. As price goes up, there will be less demand, less buyers, at least, right? Fewer buyers. So price will find the equilibrium where there's more buyers naturally. What do I think is a fair sweet spot for Dragonlord to cost? It's like I just said. Maybe you're typing that as I was saying it. I think it's where supply meets demand. I mean, will drive cost. So it's for the market to decide, really. Currently, I think it's already shown itself, right? I think it kind of flattened out in 300 to 350-ish. I think Star City Games, Pete posted it there for 370. It's 6 boxes. Let me check on his website. I think, did those boxes sell? Star City Games. Let's give it a look here on their website. So, Sorcery, order now, it says. Order now. It's interesting. I don't know what he means by order now. Okay, so I'm on the site here. No, he posted on the Sorcerer Community Facebook group and the official Sorcerer group his link to his website. At the time that he posted, there were 6 boxes in stock at $379.99. I still see 6 boxes in stock. I mean, sure, maybe did he have more than that in restock? Maybe. So it's hard to tell, but either that is the case or it's just not selling. But it makes you wonder because, like, when I look at the quantities for, he's got here Arthurian Legends at $84.99. There's 20 of those in stock. He's got it by the case at $499.99. There's 5 in stock. See how these are nice, even round numbers? So it makes me wonder. A lot of sites will like list like a limited amount and then replenish as people purchase. You know, so maybe that's the case. Maybe there was a refresh. I guess I'd have to monitor this more closely and see if this actually downticks or if there's a setting behind the scenes where it doesn't really give you 20 in stock. Could just mean that's how many he wants to sell right now at that price. He could replenish it and refresh. All right, so he's got beta at 20 boxes at $149.99, so it's at MSRP. Interesting. So that tells you there's more demand for beta. As opposed to Arthurian Legends, they have to cut price well below MSRP to $84.99, which I don't know if MAP still applies or if that's below MAP. That's kind of interesting. These cases are $899.99 for 6 boxes. You have the precons at $39.99 from beta, and then the 6 Dragonlord, as I said, at $379.99. So there you have it, guys. I don't know. You got any other questions or topics, or should we bail on this thing? It's 11:30 East Coast time. How's the auction doing? We got the amazing Sam McKinnon double artist proofs. I don't know. It's getting pretty late. I'm hungry. Should probably sleep. All right, guys, we went along here almost 2 hours. Let's cut it under 2 hours. No one will watch if the number 2 pops up. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in. I did a video drop every single day this week, Dragonlord box. I opened up all the Dragonlord boxes that I have, so I do not expect more. I do expect to post the Castle Servants original painting this week for auction. Shipped it rolled. Beautiful, large painting here. It's not as big as the Gadu painting behind me, but that is beautiful Castle Servants, original painting from Arthurian Legends. It's the last that Alvera Polakowska is going to offer. The only one she actually has beyond that is the frisky red squirrels. So that's going to be gone, and that'll be it. We got the dual altar this weekend, artist proof with the intense glare from Sam McKinnon. Go back, if you guys joined late, go back and watch the recording. Watch the opening bit where I talked about for like 20 minutes, 20, 30 minutes, the entire history of the elemental avatars, starting from Alpha, the 7 Pinot elemental avatars, starting from Alpha. And I unfortunately, I didn't put her original painting out. It's stupid. I should have done that. So starting from Alpha, working back to the earliest era. And we're going to the playmats are for sale now. I'm trying to get a sample of the playmat. So you just go to the Collector Art House Patreon, and you have to be a free tier member. So you don't have to pay me monthly to be in the Patreon, but I'm taking all the orders through the Patreon. So I have an orderly process where you guys can claim how many you want. It's the 4 elemental avatars, just like the embellished print. 15 of these, limited series of 15. There's a playmat that looks just like that in 2-player and single player. And then there's the pond artwork by Sam McKinnon in 2-player and single player. You can order through my Patreon. I'm taking pre-orders now. Always best possible pricing in the pre-order window. Then I could gauge demand. And just like Eric's Curioso with Dragonlord, I print a little bit extra just in case someone wants to buy some more later on. It's not a bad feel, but the prices go up like $5 a mat to be fair to the people that pre-ordered and allowed me to make the purchase in confidence that there was demand there. I could gauge supply relative to demand, just like Eric's Curioso does with their set releases. All right, guys. I'll hit up your questions in the next one. I got to cut it before it hits 2 hours. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in, and please like and subscribe to the channel, and we'll catch you next time. Take care. Have a great weekend.